down at APEC in I think it was Peru, right? Peru with this regional meeting that Biden went to, was she lays out the 4 red lines that the Americans must agree to if we're to have joint co-prosperity, to pull a term from World War II or the lead up to World War II. The Japanese called Asia the co-prosperity sphere before they ran the tables in 1941 to try to control it all. The Chinese are laying out the same thing. For us to be kind of partners in developing the world together, you have to agree to the 4 things. One of them is Taiwan, in that it's a region, it's a province of China, which means they really have control, essentially, of the advanced chip design, and we're just going to have to live with it. They won't do a military invasion, but we have to agree that it's just a province, not an independent country, okay, number one. Number two, and this is the tell and the ticking time bomb. It's the reason we had the new federal state guys. One of the reasons I was a co-founder of the new federal state of China. That Lao Beijing, all this talk of democracy and all this talk of freedom and all this talk of self-determination has to stop. Inside the Chinese Communist Party, the thing that they fear and they're spending all their time on is a thing called legitimacy. They understand that the United States essentially handed the country after backing the Kuomintang, right, and Chiang Kai-shek after the war. The war didn't end in China until the Civil War played in 1949, and whoop, right out of the box, they set the Korean War, which is all because of the Chinese, because we finally ended up fighting the Chinese military. So I would argue that, hey, the Korean War is just the tail end of the fighting in World War II when you really look at it. We handed it over to the Chinese communists in 1949. Yes, we did. And a guy named Senator McCarthy called them out and laid it out on the Senate floor, and General Marshall quit 90 days later. That's called a scalp. And, of course, the Chinese people revolted in 1989, the same time the Russian people revolted. And Tiananmen Square happened in June of 1989, and 6 months later, the Berlin Wall came down. Nobody ever makes that connection, ever. Why do we make it here? Because, wait for it, the Russian people and the Chinese people, I'm talking about the everyday Russian peasant, serf, person there that fought in the trenches of World War II, exactly with Lao Beijing, the common man in China, have been our allies and are our allies. Their countries are not our allies because they're run by gangsters. Gangsters that, quite frankly, we installed. Yes, in 1989, when it was all about to fall in Tiananmen Square and they had these riots all over there. Bush sent Scowcroft 30 days after and said, yo, if you chill here and quit running tanks over, Tank Man, we can cut a deal and let you in the, because we can let you in the World Trade Organization. We can give you most favored nation status, and Wall Street, these wolves on Wall Street can start shipping all these jobs over here because you can pay slave wages. And we like slave wages because we have higher gross margins, right? Pretty simple. That means we're going to make more money. And we're going to screw the Lao Beijing of America, the common man, and we're going to screw the Lao Beijing of China because they're going to be slaves. But, hey, tough break for some swell guys and gals. So right now, they don't want that democracy. That's the key. You want to get peace and prosperity in the world? Support Lao Beijing from overthrowing these dictators. And they're worse than Hitler. So you can't ever say anybody's worse than Hitler. Well, hey, the Chinese Communist Party's killed a couple 100 million of Chinese. Let me repeat that. As much as they did in Korea and some of the backing they did in Vietnam, although that was mostly the Russians, they've killed a couple 100 million of their own people, starved them to death. The Great Leap Forward, the Cultural Revolution, just starving. Mao would sit there all the time and say, let's get some nuclear weapons. Hey, if they kill a couple 100 million of our people, we'll recreate, not a problem. Got less mouths to feed. They did the one-child policy. So geopolitically, geostrategically, and with the balance sheet of our country, 2025, as 2024 has been, but 2025 is going to roll in to be one of the most important years in the history of our nation.